You're walking down an ordinary street. Nothing unusual is happening. A car passes. A few people are talking nearby. Your mind is occupied with something completely unrelated. And then a smell drifts past you. Maybe it's the scent of laundry drying in the sun, damp wood after rain, menthol oil, baby powder, wood smoke, or a perfume you haven't encountered in years. And for a moment, the street disappears. You're somewhere else. An old room, a summer afternoon, your grandmother's kitchen, the hallway of your elementary school, the clothes of someone you haven't seen in a very long time. You weren't trying to remember. You may not even have known that memory was still inside you, but the smell reached you, and an entire piece of your life suddenly opened. Not just an image. You can almost feel the light from that day, the temperature of the room, the feeling in your chest, the version of yourself you were back then. And then the scent fades, the street returns, and you're left standing there, slightly stunned, as though your past has just found you. So why can a smell do this? Why can an old photograph simply remind you of a place, while a scent can make you feel as though you've actually returned to it? Why can something invisible, difficult to name, and gone within seconds pull open a memory you thought you had completely forgotten? There is an answer people often give. Smell is closely connected to the parts of the brain involved in emotion and memory. That is true, but it is not the whole story. Because a scent does not simply open a drawer in your brain and remove a perfectly preserved piece of the past. Your memories are not stored like video files waiting to be replayed, and a smell does not truly bring the past back. It does something stranger. It makes your brain reconstruct the past inside the present, so quickly and so convincingly that you mistake reconstruction for return.
And to understand why, you first have to understand the unusual path a smell takes into your brain. When you see an object, light is converted into neural signals by your retina. When you hear a voice, vibrations in the air are converted into signals inside your ears. These sensory systems pass information through several stages of processing before what you see or hear becomes a meaningful experience. Smell enters differently. Each time you breathe in, airborne molecules enter your nasal cavity and encounter millions of receptor cells. Different molecules activate slightly different combinations of receptors, almost like a chord being played across multiple keys. That pattern is sent to the olfactory bulb, a small structure located just above the nasal cavity. From there, the signal enters a network that includes the olfactory cortex, parts of the amygdala, and regions closely connected to memory. The amygdala is not simply a container for emotion, as it is sometimes described, but it does play an important role in marking things as significant, emotionally meaningful, or worthy of attention. The hippocampus and nearby regions help connect the pieces of an event: what happened, where it happened, when it happened, and the context surrounding it. Smell enters directly into this network. It does not stand outside and politely knock. It moves into a system already responsible for connecting sensation with place, emotion, and personal experience. But anatomy alone does not explain everything. What turns a scent into a key is not only where the signal travels, it is also how the memory was created in the first place. Think of a familiar smell from your childhood. Maybe it is the scent of your old home, your blankets, incense during a holiday, food coming from the kitchen, raincoats, new school books, or a classroom after lunch. When you first encountered those smells, you probably were not trying to memorize them. You did not stand in the kitchen and think, I should preserve this scent so I can remember it 20 years from now. The smell was simply there. It blended into the entire scene. Someone's face, the light in the room, a feeling of safety, a feeling of anxiety, the sound of a fan turning overhead, a long afternoon that seemed as though it would never end. Your brain did not store the smell by itself. It bound that smell into an entire network of experience. And years later, when the same pattern of scent appears again, it may do more than trigger the recognition that you have smelled it before. It can reactivate part of the whole network that was originally built around it. The room, the people, the emotions, and the earlier version of you. This is why the feeling often arrives before the words. You smell something and immediately know it is familiar, but you do not yet know what it is.
A sensation appears in your body, a very particular warmth, discomfort, or sadness. You feel as though you are standing near a memory, but you cannot name it. Then, a few seconds later, it appears. That's the smell of my old house. That's the perfume they used to wear. That's the smell of the hospital that day. The emotion arrives first. The story follows. That is different from the way many memories are retrieved through language. Suppose someone asks you, "What do you remember about your final year of elementary school?" You have to begin searching. You establish a period of time. You think of the school's name. You remember a teacher. You follow the facts you already know until you reach a specific event. That is a deliberate process. But a scent can bypass that conscious search. You do not ask the memory to appear. It appears on its own. Researchers often refer to experiences like these as odor-evoked autobiographical memories. Many experiments have found that, compared with some verbal or visual cues, memories recalled in the presence of a scent can feel more emotional and produce a stronger sensation of being transported back to the original moment. You do not merely remember that something happened. For a moment, it feels as though part of it is happening again. But this is where we need to be careful. Smell does not always retrieve memories better than every other sense. Not every scent unlocks the past. And a vivid memory is not necessarily an accurate one. The feeling that you are back there again can be extremely convincing, but your brain is still reconstructing the event using the fragments available in the present. It can fill in gaps, merge several experiences together, add details you learned later, alter the emotional tone based on the person you are now. A scent may make a memory feel more powerful. It does not turn that memory into a perfect recording. That distinction matters. What a scent restores most strongly may not be factual information. It may be a state. You may not remember how many windows were in the room. You may not remember exactly what someone said. You may not even remember which day of the week it was. But you remember what it felt like to be the person you were in that place. Small, safe, alone, loved, or waiting for something you did not yet understand. A scent does not need to return the entire story to make the past feel alive. It only needs to reactivate the emotional background in which that story once existed. And once that state returns, your brain begins reconstructing everything else around it. That may be why a smell can make you sad before you understand what you are remembering. Your body reacts before the storyteller inside your head has time to write an explanation. Your chest feels slightly heavier. You stop walking without realizing it. A nameless sense of familiarity appears. Only afterward does conscious thought catch up and say, "Oh, it's that." The force of this experience may also be connected to another strange fact about smell. We are often terrible at naming it. You can recognize thousands of faces, distinguish countless colors, and identify a song from only a few notes. But when you encounter a smell without seeing its source, you may know with certainty that you have smelt it before while still being completely unable to say what it is. It is familiar, but unlabeled. And that absence of a label may make scent less likely to be trapped inside a simple description. A photograph can quickly become, "That is my old house." A story can become, "That was our vacation that year." But the smell of that house does not contain only the label "old house." It still carries the dust, the wood, the clothes, the food, the humidity, the weather, and hundreds of small signals that once blended together. A smell does not give you a clear sentence. It gives you a pattern. And your brain has to search the past for the world that once contained that pattern. Sometimes it finds it. And when it does, the whole world comes with it. There is another reason these moments can feel so powerful. Smells often disappear from your life without you realizing they are gone. An old song can still be played every day. A photograph can remain on your phone. A family story can be repeated so many times that the original memory and the later retelling begin to blend together. But the smell of a house that has been demolished, a soap that is no longer made, or the clothing of someone who is no longer there may disappear for years. During that time, the connection is rarely activated. Then one day, you encounter the same scent in a completely different place. There is no preparation, no warning. The contrast between your present surroundings and the old network inside you makes the return feel sudden and violent. You do not slowly enter the memory,
You fall directly into it. This experience is sometimes called the Proust phenomenon, named after the famous literary moment in which the taste and aroma of a cake dipped in tea unlock an entire world of childhood memories. But the phenomenon does not belong only to literature. Experimental research has documented that odors can evoke old autobiographical memories that are emotionally powerful and accompanied by an unusually strong sense of reliving the original experience. Still, let's be honest about where the science actually stands. There is no single button in the brain labeled smell memory. There is no simple wire running directly from your nose to the past. The experience emerges from the coordination of many systems: odor recognition, emotional evaluation, contextual retrieval, and memory reconstruction. Research also does not show that every memory triggered by smell is more special than one triggered by an image, a sound, or a word. The result depends on whether the odor is personally meaningful, how the original memory was formed, and how strongly that association remains. And most importantly, emotional intensity does not guarantee historical accuracy. You may be completely sincere when describing a memory. You may fully believe you remember it exactly as it happened, and some of the details may still have been reconstructed. A sense can throw the door open. It cannot guarantee that everything behind that door has remained untouched. But that limitation reveals the strangest part of all. Your past is not sitting motionless somewhere inside your mind, waiting to be replayed. It is rebuilt each time you remember it, and scent is one of the cues capable of giving that reconstruction something extremely powerful: the emotional state and sensory context that once surrounded the event. It does not say, "This is exactly what happened." It says, "This is what the world felt like when it happened." And sometimes, that is enough. Enough for a face to appear. Enough for a room to rebuild itself around you. Enough for a lost version of yourself to step out of the darkness for a few seconds. So let's put everything together. You may have assumed that scents pull memories out because your nose has access to some special archive. But that is not what is happening. Smell is powerful because it became woven into your experiences before you ever intended to remember them. It enters networks that connect sensation with emotion and context. It often arrives without language, allowing it to trigger a reaction before consciousness can give it a name. And when an old scent pattern returns, your brain does more than recognize it. It uses that pattern as a key to reconstruct the state in which you once lived. You are not transported back into the past. The past is reconstructed inside you, right now. And perhaps that is why these moments can hurt a little. Because for a few seconds, what was lost no longer feels lost. The house is still there. That person is still standing nearby. That afternoon has not ended yet. You are still the person you were then, unaware of everything that is about to happen. Then you breathe out. The scent molecules disperse. The network begins to quiet down. The old room disappears for a second time, and you return to the present, carrying a feeling that is almost impossible to name. You have just met a part of your life again, but you cannot make it stay. So the next time a smell suddenly stops you in your tracks, do not rush to identify it. Pay attention to the moment before the story appears, the first sensation in your body, the direction your mind has begun to lean, a vague color, a room without clear edges, a person who does not yet have a face. That is your brain following the key. It is searching for the world that once contained this pattern of sensation, and if it finds it, you will know. Not because you chose to remember, but because for one brief moment, the past recognized its own scent. Has this ever happened to you? Is there a smell that instantly brings you back to a particular place, person, or period of your life? Tell me what the smell was and the memory it carried with it in the comments. I read every single one, because next time we are going deeper into the thing that just appeared inside your mind. If a memory can feel so vivid that it seems to transport you into the past, does that vividness prove the memory is accurate?
Or could the most convincing memory you have contain things that never actually happened? Subscribe and I'll see you in the next mystery.